Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak today in the Gaia-X Summit. Let me start first with a few words about Airbus. So as most of you know, we are the European champion in aerospace industry. What do I have to do with this? No, I don't have any PowerPoints. Sorry, no PowerPoints today. As I was saying, we are the European champion in aerospace industry, so making airplanes, helicopters, satellites. Just in case you don't know, we do around roughly 52 million euros of revenues per year. Billions, sorry. Our products, just to give you also an idea, are quite complex. If you take an airplane, it's between 1 and 2 million individual parts that needs to be assembled. The design and the production of these aircraft are also involving a lot of partners. So we are working with engine manufacturers, we are working with aerostructure providers, we are working with software designers and providers, landing gear manufacturers, and many others. Our ecosystems in terms of supply chain is roughly 15,000 different suppliers, worldwide, of course, with a lot and probably thousands of small and medium businesses. So we are not just working with very large corporations like Airbus or similars, but also with a very significant number of small and medium businesses. To give you also an idea of the volumes, we are emitting every month 500,000 of purchase orders. Just so you have a couple of figures in mind. We are in the commercial aviation business. We are working with 450 customers, airlines, that are operating more than 10,000 airplanes worldwide. In the helicopter business, it's 3,000 customers operating 12,000 helicopters, again, worldwide. And all these customers and suppliers are interacting daily with Airbus. So we are having technical questions, we are having exchange on the demand, we are having quality discussions, a lot of information flows both directions with the suppliers and with the customers. As a consequence, let's say, of all this ecosystem, today we manage roughly 500,000 identities, so users who have access to the information systems of Airbus, and only 25% of these 500,000 users are Airbus employees. All the others are suppliers and customers. So makes it a little bit, to give you a kind of snapshot of what kind of digital landscape we are dealing with. Then our main challenge today for the entire aviation industry, and Airbus in particular, is the decarbonation. We have made strong commitments. The first one is that in 2025, we want to be what we call launch ready, meaning that we want to have developed and designed all the bricks to be able to produce the first completely decarbonized zero-carbon aircraft, including hydrogen. You have probably heard about it. In 2030, we want that all aircraft that we will produce can fly with 100% of what we call the sustainable aviation fuel. So not kerosene anymore, but sustainable aviation fuels. 2030. 2035, we want to have the first zero-carbon aircraft, Airbus, flying in service. Not just a prototype, really flying in service with airlines. And in 2050, you have probably heard last month that the International Civil Aviation Organization, so what we call the ICAO, has made the commitment, again, to be carbon-free, to have the entire sector, aviation sector, carbon-free by 2050. So it's a major challenge for Airbus, major challenge for the industry. It's absolutely existential because it means if we are not successful, we truly believe that aviation will not exist anymore. It will not be acceptable anymore for the society to have a pollution coming from commercial aviation. So we need to be successful because otherwise, 30 years from now, we are not there anymore, okay? And what we are all agreed in the executive committee of Airbus is that we will not be successful in our decarbonation journey without the digitalization. So the two are going together. Why? Because digitalization will allow us to optimize our industrial processes in Airbus, to go for lower waste, to go for lower energy and water consumption, to really have an impact on what we call our Scope 1 carbon footprint. But it will also allow us to improve the performance of our aircraft, leading to less CO2 emissions, because we will optimize the aircraft itself, but we will also optimize the routes. We will also optimize and increase the use of sustainable aviation fuel, as I mentioned. It will be also a better integration with our supply chain to also reduce the footprint of the entire supply chain and the cost of non-quality, for example, or the cost linked to the fact that we have not combined our demand plannings. And finally, one of the big projects that we have in Airbus today and that will be very much enabled by the digital is the creation of the new aircraft. So we are talking about a hydrogen aircraft. It's completely new. You need to change everything, completely new design, and the way we do it is completely different and is enabled by new technologies and digital data analytics, of course, intelligence, artificial intelligence are just a few, but we have far many like digital twins and so on. All the above just require strong collaboration. As I've said, more than 4,000 customers, more than 15,000 suppliers. You don't make that happen without a strong collaboration, and we need that framework. We have started that journey, so we have not waited for Gaia-X to start collaborating. So we started in the early 2000s with EDI at that time. Then we moved in 2010 and we created a first platform called Supply On, where we were starting to exchange purchase order and quality information with our suppliers, but was very much focused on the French ecosystem. Then in 2017, we created a platform called Skywise. But all of this are still very fragmented across the aerospace industry. And even at the European level, the other big players, let's say Dassault Aviation, Safran, Leonardo, Thales, MTU, Aero, Engines, Rolls-Royce, to name some of them, they all have developed their own ecosystem. So in addition, for most of our suppliers, they are not just working for aerospace industry. We are sharing them, for example, with automotive industry. And we are just, by having everybody having his own ecosystem, we are just making their life just impossible. We are just creating a pure nightmare for them. And in our decarbonation challenge, even outside of our own industry, we will have to collaborate much more with other industries. The airports, for example, the energy business, because if we want to have hydrogen airplanes, you need to equip the airports. And without the energy providers, without the airport, without the communities, we will not make that happen. So it's not just Airbus who can make it happen on his own. We need the collaboration also with a broader ecosystem than what we used to have before. And that's why we say that there is a need for more standardized services, federated services, where where we can create a trustful collaborative solution built on cloud. And that's where it comes and why Airbus is so fully engaged with Gaia-X and where we are sharing completely the vision. As I've said, Gaia-X extremely important to us and to the entire aerospace ecosystem. With the Aerospace Industry Association called GFAS in France and BDLI in Germany, we are designing the aerospace data space. So it's a lot of space in space, but okay. With business cases and all business cases that will really get the benefit of the Gaia-X deliverables. We'll just take 3 examples. First one, the trust and labeling framework that has been released just before the summit. It's really giving the opportunity to structure and to focus what a European sovereign cloud services shall guarantee. In our industry, our specificities in data exchanges related to the safety of the aircraft, just make sure that we are not at risk. IP protection, my competitors, Boeing and Comac, so I want to protect European IP here, and export control regulations. We will have a safe platform to make it operational. So thank you for all the guys who have worked on this. We are really, really thankful for the effort that you have made. It's a critical deliverable for my industry. Then the Gaia-X architecture framework. Airbus is part of the 12 partners that have started a study called Coherence for the next 36 months under the leadership of the Deutsches, and here I'm reading because otherwise I would make it wrong, so the Deutsches Zentrum für Luft- und Raumfahrt. I hope I did it correctly, which will really implement and integrates Gaia-X architecture collaboration standards for the design, the simulation, the integration, the test, and the support processes with the first application in the space industry. So we are really very much advanced there. Thanks to the Gaia-X architecture framework, we also have a place where we can do that in a collaborative and a trustful environment. Last one, in terms of database business spaces implementation, we are working very closely and watching very closely the Catena-X project. As we are sharing with automotive industry a lot of challenges and a lot of commonalities and use cases, basically, in the supply chain collaboration area. So it's about the performance of the supply chain, it's about traceability, it's about compliance. We all share this with, and I was meeting this morning with the leader to make sure that we stay really connected and we can move forward and we can learn from each other and we can share probably some of the bricks across our industries. And as I've said, we also are sharing a lot of suppliers together, so can probably even make more sense, not just for us, but also for our supply chains, that we have this level of collaboration. At Airbus, we strongly believe that Gaia-X Association is defining the foundation and the conditions of a trustful collaboration among all the business partners. And of course, it will take time. It will not be done from day one. Nothing will be perfect day one. But I strongly believe that we need to start now the operational work, that we need to start to implement things, and we will learn along the way, as we have done in many other topics. So we need to start the operationalization to make Gaia-X concrete to us, but to a larger ecosystem, to a larger community, and to demonstrate the benefits that we will get from Gaia-X. So on our side, be sure that Airbus will continue to work with the entire ecosystem, all the industries association in Europe, in our aerospace industry, to build that aerospace data space that will enable a more sustainable European aerospace industry for the next decades to come. And I will finish with a quote from Victor Hugo. There is nothing like a dream to create the future. My belief is that Gaia-X had the ambition to make our dreams a reality. Thank you very much.